Hey, look, I really appreciate that advice, old school. All right, I gotta go, but I'll talk to you later, Unc. All right, bye. Have you ever called or been called old school? Well, in today's English lesson, I am going to teach you what it means to be called old school and some other key English vocabulary words and phrases that you need to know. Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Jay. I hope you're ready for a little bit of learning and laughter. I have an English through story lesson that I am going to read to you. And with my unique style, I am going to help improve your English comprehension, vocabulary, and your English fluency. Let's get ready for some learning and laughter. Let's dive into today's lesson. After watching his grandson, Trevor, drift through life for 8 months, Dwight decided it was time for a serious sit down. Okay, so let's see what we have here. We have a grandfather named Dwight who has a grandson named Trevor. And notice Dwight watched Trevor drift through life. Now, when someone watches someone else drift through life, they're observing them, watching their decision making, watching how they carry themselves. They're not saying anything, they're just watching them make choices. It's kind of like a person that is at the beach and they're watching the ocean move and they're enjoying the birds. Life is just slowly progressing right before their eyes. And so when I'm watching someone and their life is drifting by, I'm just observing them. I'm watching them. And notice Dwight watched Trevor for 8 months and he said, it's time for a serious sit down. So a sit down is when it's time to meet with someone and have an important conversation. Okay. I need to sit down and talk with you about your behavior. Okay. I need to sit down and talk to you about how you have been acting around here. He invited Trevor to the porch and began laying down the law about work ethic, responsibility, and personal discipline. So notice he invited him to the porch. Now, this is a literal porch. So Dwight, the grandfather, must have a house or could be staying at a house that has a porch in the front. And he says, come on up here. Hey, I want you to sit down and let's have a discussion. Okay. Now, one slang term that we use in English to describe a young person that is leaving the house and going out into life to make their own decisions, to support themselves, we say, okay, I see that young person is about to jump off the porch or step off the porch. Okay. No, you think you grown ever since you left and stepped off this porch. You've been acting like you know everything. Okay. So when a person steps off the porch, they're going to start life on their own. But notice Dwight invites his grandson to sit down on the porch. Okay. So it's a subtle hint that Trevor has been on his own for almost a year or at least a year. And now his grandfather is having him to come back on the porch and sit down for a discussion. Okay. And he wants to talk to him about work ethic, responsibility, and personal discipline. But notice the phrase that I use. He wanted to lay down the law. Okay. He wanted to give him some instructions. So if you have children and they are teenagers and they're not acting right, you have to lay down the law to let them know the rules of the house. Okay. When I teach young people, I have to lay down the law on how they should conduct themselves when they're in my class. Okay. You have to lay down the law. All right. So, quick quiz question. What is a serious sit down? Okay. I talked about it in the first sentence. I want you to write down in the comments section, what is a serious sit down? Okay. Let's continue the story. Dwight spoke with the kind of seasoned wisdom that only comes from decades of hard lessons and real world experience. Okay. Notice Dwight spoke with the kind of seasoned wisdom. Okay. When someone has seasoned wisdom, it says that they know what they're talking about. Okay. They've been through a lot of different things in life. Like many of you, you're older now in life, and so you've had experiences, and you can pass down some good advice to your younger siblings. You can pass down some great advice to your grandchildren. You can pass down some advice to your children. The key is we hope that they listen. Okay, so Dwight is seasoned. He's been through things. He's had jobs. He's worked. He's had experience with women, with money, just various different things that he could help Trevor along with. Okay. Now, notice how I put it. He wanted to give him some wisdom from real world experience. You know, oftentimes when you get into your 40s and your 50s or even older, I mean, you have the smell of wisdom on you. You know what it takes to be productive. And so oftentimes we try to pass that down to the younger generation. And when you reach that stage in life, you are considered old school. Sometimes younger people, even though I'm not old, they call me old school, an old head, or what's popular now, Unc. What's up, Unc? Tell me about that, Unc. I appreciate that, Unc. So it's how the younger generation shows a sign of respect to someone that is older and has more experience than them. Okay, let's continue. He warned Trevor that chasing women without purpose would only lead him astray, and distract him from building a stable future. Oh boy, that's the truth. I hope he's listening. Okay, I believe women are some of the greatest creations here on earth. I mean, you just can't get anything more unique than a intelligent, beautiful, smart woman. But sometimes in our youth, we spend so much time chasing women and we waste a lot of time and money and make bad decisions. Okay. So here's Dwight trying to tell him, look, if you're going to pursue a woman, you got to have some purpose. Okay. What is your reasoning? Are you just playing around, or are you trying to find a productive woman? You know, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And so you want to make sure when you're dealing with women, Trevor, you have purpose. You don't want to go out here and mess up her life or your life. Okay. Okay. So he's trying to give him some good advice. Now, notice he says, look, if you don't have purpose, you're going to be led astray and distracted. So when a person is led astray, they get off the right path. When a person is distracted, they can be doing a great job, but they actually harm themselves instead of helping themselves because they're making poor decisions. Okay? So, quick quiz. What is seasoned wisdom? Okay? So I talked about it a few moments ago. When a person has seasoned wisdom, what is that? Let me know down in the comment section. Let's continue. When the topic shift to money, Dwight told him that every dollar counts and that reckless spending would eventually catch up to him. Boy, that's the truth. So notice when the topic shift. So you can shift a car into a different gear. Okay. You can shift a conversation. All right. So he went from talking about money, he went from talking about women, shifting to money. So in other words, he just changed the conversation. So you could be talking to me about English and you say, you know what, Jay, I want to shift the conversation. Let's talk about travel. Okay. You talk about travel a lot in your stories. So you're changing the conversation when you shift to a different topic. Okay. Now, when he tells him that every dollar counts, he's telling him that money is important. You want to use money to the best ability that you can. Every dollar counts, he tells him. So whether it's $1, $10, $50 or more, every dollar counts. And boy, that is the truth. I remember when I was younger, I did not understand that money was a tool, okay? And you have to use it properly in order to have a successful life. And I spent so much time wasting money in my younger years, but those days are completely over. Okay? Now notice he says, look, if you're reckless with your money, eventually it will catch up to you. So if you're reckless, you're going to pay for it later. Okay, we often say you reap what you sow. So if you don't handle money good while you're young, you're going to pay for it when you're older. So spend money wisely, save money, invest money while you're young. So when you're older, you can reap the rewards of making good decisions. Trevor listened quietly, realizing his grandfather wasn't judging him, just trying to steer him before life hit him like a ton of bricks. Oh, there's so much in this sentence. Okay, so Trevor listened quietly, letting us know he was paying attention. He was taking it all in. And he realized his grandfather wasn't judging him. Okay. He wasn't saying, Trevor, you're just awful. Trevor, you can do better. No, he was analyzing his life and giving him some advice to improve it. You know, if you're sensitive, you can't take good advice because good advice will correct bad behavior. And some people don't like criticism. We live in a day and time where people are just so sensitive. But in order to get better, someone has to correct you. And Dwight is doing that for his grandson in a very, very wise manner. He's just sitting him down and giving him some good advice. That's great. Notice Dwight was trying to steer him before life hit him like a ton of bricks. So you can steer a car, you can steer a boat, you can steer an airplane. You can steer a person in the right direction. So I can't make you study, but I can steer you in the right direction to study more or to study better. Okay, so to steer someone is to guide someone in the proper manner. Now, you can steer someone in the wrong direction. You can associate with people that give you bad habits and they can steer you in the wrong direction. Okay, so if I hang around people that are wise, they're going to steer me in the direction to be wise. If I hang around people that are foolish, they're going to steer me in a direction that is foolish. Okay. Now notice he was giving him the advice before life hit him like a ton of bricks. So if I were to drop a ton of bricks on you, it would hurt. Okay. It would be painful. It might even kill you. When life hits a person like a ton of bricks, it's sudden. We say, oh, wow, I wasn't prepared for this. No one told me what to expect. And like a ton of bricks, it messed me up. It harmed me. And Dwight did not want that for his grandson, Trevor. Okay? Quiz time. What does it mean to coast through life? Okay? Now, remember, Dwight saw Trevor, okay, coasting through life. What does that mean? I explained it earlier in the story. We're almost done. Eventually, Trevor admitted that he had made careless decisions and had been coasting instead of working toward real goals. There's another context clue. He had been coasting. He had been not taking life seriously. We often say a young person is behaving nonchalantly. Say that, nonchalantly. They don't care. They're just like, whatever. Who cares? I don't care. Nothing matters. I can do what I want to do. But it does matter, okay? And so when a person is coasting or doing like that, they're making decisions that may not seem bad at the moment, but in time, you will see that those decisions you made just were not good decisions, okay? Let's complete today's story with the last two sentences. Hearing this, Dwight nodded with relief. So he agreed. He said, you're right, Granddad. Reminding him that owning up to mistakes is the first step to turning the corner. So when a person turns the corner in a figurative standpoint, it means that they're changing their behavior. So you may sit back and say, you know what? It really looks like he's turned the corner. Ever since his divorce, he's gotten better. Okay, so you're progressing. You know what? Ever since she had that car accident, it seems like she's driving better. It looks like she's really turned the corner and slowed down. Okay, so that's what that means. Our last sentence. From that day on, Trevor applied his grandfather's advice. He put it into action. He applied it. Determined to grow up, level up, and make Dwight proud. So when a person levels up, they go higher. They do better in life. Okay? And that's all Dwight wanted his grandson Trevor to do. Okay? What does turn the corner mean? Let me know down in the comments section. What does turn the corner mean? Okay, now before we get out of here, you know how I do on my lessons. Let's read through today's story at a faster pace without stopping. And if you cannot keep up with me, at least see if you still comprehend what I am saying. All right, let's read through the story and then we'll be done for today. After watching his grandson Trevor drift through life for 8 months, Dwight decided it was time for a serious sit-down. He invited Trevor to the porch and began laying down the law about work ethic, responsibility, and personal discipline. Dwight spoke with the kind of seasoned wisdom that only comes from decades of hard lessons and real-world experience. He warned Trevor that chasing women without purpose would only lead him astray and distract him from building a stable future. When the topic shifted to money, Dwight told him that every dollar counts and that reckless spending would eventually catch up to him. Trevor listened quietly, realizing his grandfather wasn't judging him, just trying to steer him before life hit him like a ton of bricks. Eventually, Trevor admitted that he had made careless decisions and had been coasting instead of working toward real goals. Hearing this, Dwight nodded with relief, reminding him that owning up to mistakes is the first step to turning the corner. From that day on, Trevor applied his grandfather's advice, determined to grow up, level up, and make Dwight proud. All right, so that's going to do it for today's English lesson. Man, I think I have talked about at least 7 or 8 different key vocabulary words and phrases, and I hope it has been a help to you. As you guys know, I really enjoy teaching English here on my channel. So make sure you watch today's lesson over again to help improve your English vocabulary comprehension and fluency. And if my lessons have been a help to you, make sure you share them with a friend. Just take the link and share it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Or if you like to show support to the channel, you can become a channel member or join the Patreon, either one, and all of that is down in the description of today's lesson. Well, as always, I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you do share it and enjoy the rest of your day. And until then, I hope you join me on my next English lesson. I'll see you then.